money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Customer, clientele. I was broke, that was last year. Getting money like cashier. Get the money like a cashier. Benjamin, nothing less. I was broke, that was last year. Don't change on me. I never switched up. Been down since day one. Stay social. People change on me. I never switched up. Social currency.
Boom, what's up everybody? It's your boy Kevin Cox.
And Marcus Ivy. And welcome to Dope Black Thoughts.
Thanks for coming back to another episode. We are not necessarily in a great mood today. Another black man gunned down at the hands of the police with 0 weapons in his hand. Actually, this time in front of his children while getting into the car. Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back attempting to enter his vehicle with 3 of his children in the vehicle.
So let's illustrate this just a little bit. He was apparently called over to break up a fight. At least that's according to his attorney. And some type of domestic issue. He was trying to break it up. I guess the officers get there. They assume that it's this young black man who has dreads and so forth, and or braids in his hair. And he attempts to leave the scene, essentially. He walks around the car, I think all of 7 seconds, and Officer Shesky, that's his name, Rustin Shesky, 29-year-old, member of the Kenosha Police Department, follows him with the gun aimed directly at the nape of his neck and waited until he opened the door to get in before Officer Shesky then proceeds to grab him by his shirt to hold him in place so that he could then shoot him 7 times in the back of his neck, in his head, in his shoulders.
Spine.
To which now, as we know, he survived so far, but he is paralyzed from the waist down, which is quite frankly a miracle because 7 shots are designed to kill you. It's designed to extinguish your life. There's no need, for 7 shots at point blank range.
It only takes 1.
Right there. So obviously a higher or divine power has their hand upon this man. And quite frankly, hopefully he will be able to testify at hopefully the murder or the attempted murder trial of Rustin Shesky.
Now, to all my conservative and Republican friends, I want to implore you to think about how big the government is becoming. This is a massive government. That officer wanted him to stay out of his vehicle where his children were when he was not committing any crimes. That officer wanted him to stop in mid-step. Just, you cannot move 1 more inch. And if you try to, I'm going to shoot you in the back. I don't know about you, Marcus, but I've never felt threatened by someone walking away from me.
It's crazy. And just for those folks who will say, well, you don't know, according to Patrick Salvey Jr., who I guess is one of the attorneys, one of his 2 attorneys, he verified that there was no weapon in his vehicle. So let's just get that out the way so we don't have to assume that. And then I don't want to hear, well, we don't know that. He may have had a weapon. He could have, and the officer was doing what he needed to do. Nonsense. There were how many officers at that scene?
It was like 5 or it was above 5 officers. There was a ton of officers up there. They could have secured that scene, and we got everything backwards, y'all. I'm glad the NBA boycotted. I'm glad there are other pro sports teams that are joining in on this movement. I'm glad that people are starting to get it. But you know what? At the first night of protest, a 17-year-old named Kyle Rittenhouse had his mom drive him down to Kenosha, Wisconsin.
From what state?
Illinois. And came out there and killed people. Shot people. There's video footage of him admitting it on the phone. He's from huddled over a body, inspecting the body, and then running away.
Turns around and runs away.
Yep. And runs away on the phone. I just shot somebody. So we all know exactly what happened. We see knowledge of guilt. We see admittance of guilt. He was seen sitting on the ground after he fell down and still shooting in the sitting position.
Where he hit 2 more people, possibly 3. At that, Well, there was one collapsed, and then he shot another one, and that other person looked like he was hurt. He kind of limped away. But here's the part that gets me. Here's the perspective that no one seems to want to discuss. His mother drove him across state lines with a AR-style gun, loaded to the scene where they know it is hostile to an extent. And she dropped him off. In my world, that's an accomplice. You are also culpable for aiding and abetting in the commission of a crime.
Commission of a murder.
That's right. 2 murders and an attempted murder at that.
You're all in that, Mom.
I can't get over that.
Cold-blooded murder, just like how Mom used to make. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Name the black person that's done this. Call him out, please.
We'll wait.
I'll hold my breath. I'll be a dead man walking.
Oh,
Here's the thing. You are going to reach critical mass. I've said this before. I'll say it again. You're going to reach critical mass. It's not because black people want to start shooting white people or want to start targeting the police. As a matter of fact, when Black Lives Matter was in Dallas and those officers started getting shot, the guy that was shooting the officers was kicked out of that Black Lives Matter group.
Mm-hmm.
They said, no, you can't be in our group if you're talking about taking shots at officers. They kicked them out of there. Black Lives Matter has shown they have a higher level of moral fortitude than their white counterpart. If you want to say the All Lives Matter crowd or the pro-Second Amendment or pro-police thin blue line counterpart, we have a higher, and I'm not going to say we because I'm not a member, but the Black Lives Matter protesters have a higher level of morality than all of the counter protesters. And you have to be willing to say that because they're not opening fire on anybody. Hey, look, looting may have happened. I'm willing to bet that they are not the Black Lives Matter protesters.
I'm very much willing to bet that. In Denver here last week, Kevin and I were at an event, the Caravan 1,000 Miles Caravan, and we participated peacefully. There were people who were members of Black Lives. There were people who were members of other groups. It was a diverse group. But here's the part. We all left. We were done. And then later that night, there was a group that went out to the police department at Denver and assaulted the outer buildings and things of that nature. But guess who they're blaming for that?
Are they blaming Black Lives Matter? Are they blaming the Caravan?
Of course. Not the Caravan, thankfully,
okay.
But they are blaming the Black Lives Matter. But yet, when you see the folks who were actually arrested, take a look at them. That's all I got to say. But to revert back, I got to express another aspect related to this. So you got Kyle, which I'm not going to be mentioning his name much beyond that. I'm going to just, he's the Kenosha Murderer 2, Part 2. So you got him, you got his mother.
Should I bleep his name out?
Nah. No, let's keep it. You get it once, and that's it. Then we ain't saying it else anymore. But let's talk about Kenosha's police chief. Kenosha's police chief blames the deadly shooting on protesters who were defying the curfew. So let that sink in for a second. He blamed the shooting by this Kenosha shooter Part 2 on people violating the curfew.
If you stay out after 7 p.m., you're going to get shot, right? Does that make any sense? 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. is the curfew. What kind of sense does that make? And also, how many other times were people getting shot during a protest? Who else is getting shot during a protest unless they're getting shot by the National Guard or by the local police departments? These protesters ain't shooting nobody. You can't blame them for being out past the curfew for an act of murder. I'm sorry. Next time you want to start blaming people, blame the murderer. That's usually the best way to go.
Absolutely. I mean,
There's something about this skin that transfers murder victim or attempted murder victim to perpetrator of violation of a curfew. There's something about it. I don't get it. It's magical thinking. I consider it to be mental gymnastics. You're turning flips, Mr. Police Chief of Kenosha. What's that person's name?
Daniel Miskinese.
Daniel Miskinese. No longer a friend of the show.
I mean, I just can't get over that he blamed a kid who came across state lines, and he blamed curfew violations upon he blamed the curfew for shooting. So here's the thing. So every kid that's truant from school, are we saying that they're entitled to be shot to keep order? Now, that may seem like a awfully off-cuff comment, but think about it, because that's about analogous to this.
It's about the same. It's about the same.
Hey,
we were supposed to be in school. Of course you got shot.
Yeah.
None of that makes sense. None of that makes sense. So what he's actually saying is he can't control crime where he is.
Right.
If you're outside, anything's bound to happen. I wonder if he would say that if it was his kid that got shot.
I'm willing to bet cash money that had murderer number one been arrested immediately, officer one been arrested immediately, I'm willing to bet there would have been no curfew violations or protests if he were arrested and charged by that particular district attorney saying, we're going to charge him. We're going to arrest him.
Here's a good way to avoid civil unrest. Don't let people kill your civilians indiscriminately. Mm-hmm. And then when they do kill your civilians indiscriminately, you separate them from society immediately. That's usually a good way to maintain just a baseline level of peace where you're trying to make your humble abode. People want to feel safe where they are. I'm going to tell you what, black people don't feel safe. Black people are arming themselves. I know you've seen the recent articles. You've seen the recent videos. You've seen us talk about black gun ownership, especially in this Trump COVID recession. Ding, trademark. In this Trump COVID recession, black people know that they're more at risk of death. Period. We have worse healthcare outcomes. We get less care. We get less prescriptions. We get sent away from the doctor at a higher rate. We have people that we're working for jobs that are less likely to give us paid leave, that are less understanding of all of our situations. We go outside. If anything's wrong, if your finances aren't there and your tags are out on your vehicle, you get pulled over. All they gotta do is magic words. I smell marijuana. And now all your civil rights are gone. You're in handcuffs. And if they want to put their knee on your neck for 9 minutes until you die, or they want to throw your 6-year-old daughter on the pavement in the middle of the summer and point a gun at her, it just kind of is what it is. I'm just naming recent current events that I've heard of black people suffering at the hands of the police.
So the rest of that. The rest of that little conference gets worse. Instead of focusing on the young man that was murdered and focusing on discussion of further and more in-depth discussion of the guy, the kid that came across state lines, murderer number 2, he decided to further go on and say, I want to thank the heavily armed militia. Thank you for being here. And then he wants to say, we're going to crack down on curfew breakers.
Here, give them a bottle of water. They gave the militia guys a bottle of water before they start shooting into the crowd.
And here's the other part that really irks me. They've been having protests, but they've all been peaceful. It only got worse when a black man got shot. And so his concern is curfew breakers. Not the fact that one of your officers killed a black man. Or almost killed a black man with 7 shots, point blank. That's mafia-style murder. That's melee murder. I did a case where the guys basically said that they want to create drama to the rivals. So anytime they shoot someone, they're going to make sure they get their gun off. In other words, they're going to make sure they're going to empty the clip. 15 in a clip, they're going to make sure they put all 15 in them because they want their rivals to be scared. If they're stabbing them, they're going to make sure that they stab 20 to 30 times so that their rivals can know that we're serious. This right here, 7 shots into the back of the head of a person That's mafia style.
There's murderers out there that didn't have the guts to do what that officer did.
Sheesh.
There's no way I would say that officer's a coward. I would say that officer has a lot of guts. He did exactly what he felt like doing. I bet you, I'm going to watch how I say this. I bet you he had a really special dream about doing that. I'm sure he woke up, had to clean himself off after having that dream. He just did everything he's been dreaming about. I do not think that that's the first time he's imagined shooting 7 shots into the back of a black man. I don't think this was a coincidence. I think he saw the perfect opportunity. And it wasn't really a perfect opportunity. Really, there was probably another chance. Before he walked to the car is when he needed to shoot the black guy. That's when he needed to do it. But instead, he waited till he walked away so he had to try to get a tussle and say, I don't know what he could be doing. Try to find some mixed position where there could be something in that vehicle. Of course, there could be something in the vehicle. There could also just be a vehicle. The something in the vehicle could just be kids. And by the way, for anyone that's saying, well, he shouldn't have ran, he should have complied, what was he doing there? He was trying to break up a fight. When black people do the right thing, they are held accountable as if they did a crime. When Colin Kaepernick took a peaceful and silent knee because he talked to his military friend and said, what's the most respectful way that I can have my say and still be respectful to the troops? And he knelt like we do whenever someone dies. When he showed that respect, you said, nope, not like that. It was quiet, peaceful, didn't hurt anybody. When people put up their fists and say Black Lives Matter, you said, nope, not like that, all lives matter. Even though no one ever said when you wear a breast cancer t-shirt, say, well, what about pancreatic cancer? All cancer matters, right? You don't get into that. You don't get granular like that when we're talking about anything else. But when black people say that their life matters, we're saying it because we feel like we need to remind you we are just as human. When we see our baby girls on the pavement with a gun pointed at them, we get mad. When we see a strong black man that's raising he's got like 5 kids. I believe Jacob Blake has like 5 kids. He's got a lot of kids. He's a young man. He's doing good for himself. He's respected and loved in his community. And he was an upright and model citizen. If he has any sort of a checkered past, it still doesn't mean that he wasn't taking care of his kids. And he sure is all get out was not committing a crime at that point. So when this gentleman comes over here and actually tries to stop something bad from happening, and then he sees these murderous police show up. So here's another thing. We all know that the cops are kind of murderous, right? We know the cops are very likely to kill us. So when he sees them come up and things are still out of hand, he walks away. Instead of turning and being the aggressor, he walked away. What are we always told in conflict management? What are we told if a woman puts their hands on you and you're a man? You know what? Just walk away. Just walk away. But she hit me in the face. Just walk away. This guy just walked away. Black people get shot in the back. Walter Scott comes to mind.
Walter Scott. I was just thinking about him.
Just thinking about Walter Scott. He got shot 8 times.
8 times. He shot 7 bullets in the back of this man's back.
How do you do it? How do you do it? I don't even know how you do it.
Here's the thing. Disobeying an officer's order in the state of Colorado is a municipal charge. It's a municipal charge. You generally get a fine for it.
Like a parking ticket.
It's municipal. In Colorado, I have to imagine it's darn near that as well, disobeying a lawful order. It's got to be less. It's got to be a municipal charge. But in this particular situation, this officer felt that it was appropriate to issue my ruling. And my ruling is death or attempted death. And so I'm going to now execute death if I can. That's what this is. If you are offended by hearing us talk this way, then you have the problem, not us.
You're part of the problem. You're also part of the problem. If you don't believe that we should be outraged when the police shoot us when we're committing 0 crimes, have 0 weapons, and are not being the aggressor in any way, shape, or form, then you're part of the problem.
But what if you are committing a crime that's minimal? What if you are arguing? What if you are resisting? If you're resisting with no weapon, even then, in the state of Colorado, as in all states, including the federal government, we have certain crimes that are entitled to the death penalty, except not in Colorado anymore. Thank you, Governor Polis, for that. We have certain crimes, generally, murder you can seek capital punishment. I think we even have a form of kidnapping where you can seek capital punishment. Those are the crimes generally reserved for the government to take one's life. Now, remember, the officers are part of the government. But never is armed robbery necessarily a crime to which the state will kill you for. Not as theft, not as trespassing. Those crimes don't require that. But for some reason, folks who will argue with you will say, well, he disobeyed the order. So if you disobey the order, it's okay to shoot him. Well, no, but that's what you're saying when you question it.
Okay, so disobey the order. Let's talk about disobey the order. Now I want you to get on YouTube and watch all these white women being asked to put on a mask when they walk into the supermarket. And then imagine that a cop walked up and shot her 7 times in the back. Imagine that. All these Karen meme videos that everyone's laughing about. Oh, look at her. What a snowflake. And then even the male counterpart, they'll still call him a Karen. And you say, oh my God, they're just so crazy. They're overreacting. Why don't they just listen? Ha ha ha. No one shoots them in the back. Like Walter Scott did several years ago. This is not new. I keep saying this. This is old news. Tale as old as time. The minority is getting killed in front of you.
So yes, we're ticked off.
Absolutely.
We're tired. We need prosecutors to step up to the plate and start charging these crimes. Lord knows I have seen crimes that were far worse. Real crimes. I can't even get it out. Here's the problem. People get charged for far less than this. And they get charged with homicide or attempted murder. I had a client years ago who was trying to defend herself, and the guy was trying to rape her. She gets a gun out and she shoots the guy in his stomach. They charged her with attempted murder.
Had that black woman in Florida that was being beat by her husband forever, and she shot and missed and hit the wall and caught 5 years.
5 years? 5 years.
Same district attorney couldn't get a guilty verdict on George Zimmerman. I don't know. If there's not a two-tier justice system, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Don't tell me there's no disparities. We talked about it last week. Go check out that episode. We talked about who was it? Lori, what's her name? Lori
Ingram?
Lori Laughlin.
Oh, Laughlin. Oh,
and the other lady who spent hundreds and thousands of dollars to get their kids into school with fake rowing and all this other stuff. Somebody's taking the test
cheating
for
the
you.
System to get into a better school.
And they got 14 days and 2 months. Whereas you got the other young lady, Tanya McGraw, I think it was. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Something like that.
And she got 5 years because she was homeless because she put a false address on there so her son can go to a better school district. What am I missing? If there's not a two-tier system, I don't know what it is.
And also blatant hypocrisy. So it's not just a two-tiered system. It's also you're lying when you're saying you really want education choice. What you really want is the black kids over there, and I want my pretty white kids right here. And whenever you say you want justice, you don't mean for all. You don't want cops to get prosecuted when they kill black people unarmed. You don't want cops to get prosecuted whenever they sexually assault people. You don't want cops to get prosecuted when they're passed out drunk in their cruiser. You don't want cops to get prosecuted when they kneel on people's necks for 9 months. I mean, nine minutes. You don't want these things. You don't want real justice, because justice would have your side locked up too. Because when your protesters were going crazy, just talking to my conservative Second Amendment enthusiasts, to my Trump supporting MAGA, anti-mask, everything, those guys, when you push up against the police, you would have gotten shot by the police, not by me, not by any black people, by the cops. If you would have done that, if we had true justice in this country, because that's what happens to us.
So I know I keep hitting these legal issues, but I got to do another legal issue, because here's the other thing that gets me, because I was thinking about Walter Scott, and now I'm thinking about Jacob Blake. Of course, they're both shot in the back. So in the state of Colorado, you have a right to defend your home. So a intruder comes in, they come into your door, and they got a gun, and you got your gun, you can pop that person. However, if that person still has a gun and turns around and leaves your house and runs, guess what? You don't get to go shoot them in the back.
Do not.
So how come with an officer and you got a black man walking away in the case of Jacob Blake or running away in the case of Walter Scott, both unarmed, how come the officers can shoot them in the back and not be prosecuted for it? But you as a homeowner, Second Amendment enthusiast, cannot shoot a person who runs out of your house and they may have a gun. Isn't the scenario the same? Well, they could endanger someone else in the public. Well, you don't get to use that argument, but apparently the officers do. That's a problem. Hypocrisy at its finest.
So don't fall victim to that. Be an objective-minded person. Don't just say that your side is right just cause. Please think about the surrounding circumstances and understand that. Just like Doc Rivers said. Doc Rivers said it best. Don't get upset because you're black. Don't get upset because a white person shooting a black person. Don't get upset because of that. Get upset because you're an American. And I'll just extrapolate from that. Get upset because his rights and his freedoms were trampled upon. Because he did not have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know how happy he's going to be able to be, especially being born a walking person and having done nothing wrong and not signed up to be in the military and go fight the enemy. He actually was just at home trying to stop crime, trying to stop senseless violence. And also, here's another breaking news. Breaking news. There's black men out here that are standing up and doing what they're supposed to be doing. So don't act like we're not out here trying to stop this BS from happening. You keep saying, well, what's going on in your community? Jacob Blake was trying to stop it. Jacob Blake was trying to make it a little bit better in this black community. Don't forget that part. So all you black Republicans, all you strong conservatives that say you never see it, where are the fathers? That father was with his kids, by the way. There goes that narrative.
Yep.
Don't ignore those parts. He had his kids with him, and he was stopping some crime. He was stopping some senseless violence, trying to better the black community. And what happened to him?
Because we understand. We understand. And that's the thing. Don't get it twisted. Don't get pulled into the stereotypical narrative. It's false. You got two black fathers here. You got two black fathers here who would stand up for black folks, white folks, Latinos. It don't matter. We want to stop it.
And we have.
And we have, absolutely. But for some odd reason, the narrative seems to be...
Let's talk about it like 45. Let's talk about it like 45. They don't report on that, do they?
They don't.
That black man was a good father. They're not reporting that. That black man was trying to stop violence. They're not reporting that. They just show the worst thing and say, hey, you never know what could have happened there. This is a travesty. And this also conditions people. This conditions his community. This hardens their heart. This makes them have no mercy. Imagine what's going to happen. Do you think there's going to be an outpouring of mercy if a cop gets shot in Kenosha, Wisconsin from the black community? You think the black community is going to shed a tear the next time they see an officer get shot? You think they're going to pull over and let the train of police cars go by on their funeral? They might not quite be as remorseful as everyone else would. So think about that. We want to have an open heart, but you keep burning us. We're reaching out, you're slapping our hand away.
So we need quality district attorneys, and we need quality judges who are going to sit on those benches and call it like they see it, and don't give Lori Loughlin 2 months in prison and then give 5 years to the other person. We need judges as well as prosecutors and deputy prosecutors who are going to do what's right and what's fair. But most importantly, we need to start voting in our police chiefs like we do our sheriffs. And let's give the people the ability to pick who they want to lead their police force. Oh, and by the way, when we talk about defund police, let's not get it twisted. Once again, because we have to constantly correct this. We're talking about, let's take funds from the police in certain areas so that we can apply those funds to much needed resources. Why not mental health? Why not a trauma expert who goes out with every cop and says, you know what, officer, this is probably not what you think. Let me have a conversation with him.
Here's another example. There's a bank robbery. The bank robber has taken 10 hostages. They don't send in a beat cop. They send in a specialized negotiator, right? Who has a special set of skills, Liam Neeson voice.
Yep.
Right? They come in there and they're specially trained for this. So when you have a fight being broken up, you have all kinds of an uproar going on in the community. Maybe you don't send in the cop with the billy club and the tasers and the pepper spray and everything because no one's over there committing crimes right now.
Yeah.
You want to come in there and de-escalate. So where's the man with the soft voice? Where's the person that's going to calm everything down? Who gave the guy the cigarette and said, hey, here's a phone, talk to me when you're ready? How come no one was doing that? Why was there a gun pointed at the man's back when he's walking away? Isn't that just wrong, just if you think about it? I don't know. Have you ever taken a concealed carry course? Actually just any gun safety course. You don't point a gun at anything you're not willing to kill or destroy. Obviously, he was willing to destroy that man while he was walking away, committing no crime and aggressing towards no one. So that we're gonna get circular on that. I just want to debunk that whole idea that black men aren't doing these things. Jacob Blake was a perfect example of a black father and a black upstanding member of society making things better in the community.
Yep.
And this is how we rewarded him. So don't be surprised if you start seeing some no good nicks.
Facts. That's all I gotta say.
So then, just expand a little bit bigger. So Milwaukee Bucks decided they're not coming out on the court, and I can't blame them. Matter of fact, the commentators are talking about it. Kenny Smith, former Rocket, got a mean three back when we had the repeat. I remember him. He said, "You know what? I'm not even equipped to talk about this right now on my ESPN show." Took off his mic.
Show. But yes, TNT show.
Oh, it's TNT. Okay.
Yes, but you're right.
But he got up and he walked out just in solidarity.
Yep.
You know, imagine if this was what Black America looked like in every aspect.
And the props and shout outs came. I know where I was at. I was actually meeting with a client, and we're watching TV, and they're not coming out. Orlando came out, warmed up for 15 minutes, and went back, and it became immediately apparent. The power is with the players. The majority of the NFL, and the NFL too, the majority of the NBA is black. Just like the majority of the NFL. The power is with the players. And you got those people who come out and say it's absurd. Well, technically, you know what's absurd? Making $50 million for playing a game. That's absurd. While you pay your teachers $30,000 and $45,000 a year.
Yeah.
But okay, I digress.
And you spend $20,000 on a student's education, but spend $80,000 to keep a man in jail. Yeah, that's absurd to me as well.
Yeah, exactly. So
agree to disagree.
Okay. Just right. So yeah, and so that's an issue. So I give props and shout out to them because, quite frankly, you're right. They did the right thing. They're getting sick of it. They're sick and tired of it. They're sick and tired of seeing black people killed. And don't come to me with this black on black crime. It's, black on black crime, sure. White on white crime is also high. The percentages are pretty close to one another, but no one talks about that. But that's not even relevant. That's not the issue here. The issue here is, why do we have officers, those who have sworn to uphold the law, shooting black men and women who are unarmed? That's the question.
And I have another question. So if a cop witnesses a person commit a crime, they're supposed to immediately arrest that person, right? Because they witnessed them commit a crime. Did those officers on the scene immediately arrest Rustin, what's his name?
Nope, they didn't.
Shesky? Did they immediately arrest him? Because they saw him shoot a man in the back.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
This is the level that I'm talking about. When you see an officer, like in Aurora recently, we had officers under a mistaken identity reading a license plate incorrectly, pulled 4 young black girls out on the ground, the youngest of them being 6 and dressed like a princess, and threw them on the hot pavement and pointed guns at them, right? When the one officer pointed the guns at the unarmed children, why didn't the other cop stop that cop?
Facts. That's all I'm saying. Exactly.
So if I witness a crime... They were telling black people that the stop snitching policy was so detrimental to our community. I think you're right. I think it was bad for us to watch Jody over there, Jody and Pojo Nuck them sell their crack rock from the trap house and not say anything because you ain't going to get involved. I do think that was detrimental. And I also think it's detrimental for all these cops to stand around and watch a black man be shot almost to death right before their eyes and not subdue the officer that's pulling the trigger when he shouldn't be pulling the trigger.
That's it.
Should have been zip tied. You should have sat him down, figured out his mental state, and gotten that all assessed. Get that figured out. It's an active investigation, isn't it?
Is it an active investigation?
So I need everybody to step back, and I need to get this officer under control. Sit him down, take him inside, get him processed. He's still got all his rights. He can talk to an attorney. Mirandize him. Mm-hmm. That's what we're expected to do. And we can't even get strong with it. We got to be relaxed. When you putting our hands behind our back for no apparent reason. Yep. This officer drove off in his cruiser. Very similar to what young Kyle did at the protest. Not even 24 hours later, he walked away freely after killing people. He walked right by the armored personnel carrier, took his hands up.
I watched the video. I was actually really taken aback in the video. Because, number one, he came there to instigate and start, and then he's running away, kinda, and then
But he knew he was caught. He was surrounded by too many cops.
Because they knew, and then, because he had already previously shot a person.
He believed that the cops would actually enforce the law. Mm-hmm. He did not know that was actually a myth.
Yeah, exactly.
He actually knew the cops were going to arrest him, but the cops don't arrest white criminals the way they arrest black criminals.
I couldn't believe watching whoever had the camera who's watching him. They're right up on him. He keeps raising his hand and he keeps walking. The big old armored vehicle comes up, and you had the other officer's car backed up, and then they just let him walk by.
But you know what's crazy though? The whole time people were saying, "That's him. There he is.
Yep,
that's the guy that shot people. He just shot people. Get him, officer." And they act like they couldn't hear nothing. You know what? If that white kid would have said, "Help, they're chasing me," I bet they would have got out and subdued the people that were pointing at him.
Yep, it's facts.
Because he was part of the militia that they were giving water to and thanking for coming out.
And so that young man went home, went to sleep.
In his own bed.
Got a nice meal before he went to sleep. Water to drink. And he went to bed.
Got washed up.
Yeah.
Safe and sound under his covers.
Yeah, right back at home. And the two people that he murdered, gone. They don't get to go home. They don't get to go home and see their kids or their family and spend time with their spouse. They don't get to do that. It's a problem. It's a problem.
This is very problematic. So the critical mass that I'm speaking of is when people decide that no matter who it is, if you're killing me, we're going to stop you from killing me in my community. You can reach that point. You can reach a point where people decide to overthrow institutions. Yep. And the pension is there within our society because that's part of what President number 45 represented, was burning down the system. Mm-hmm. Now, they loved it when it was President 45, but when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez comes in and says she would like to burn down parts of this system, that's a problem.
Yeah.
When Bernard Sanders, senator from Vermont, says he would like to burn down parts of this system, it's a problem. So here's the real issue. We worship the rich. We ingratiate the powerful. We give them unnatural amounts of power. And we have decided that we will sustain an underclass that will not have these rights that are constitutionally guaranteed to them. So my conservative brothers and sisters, I implore you, stand up for the Constitution. Stand up for freedom to live, for the right to live, be happy, and pursue your happiness. We deserve that. If you don't stand with us, you're on the opposite end of it. You're on the wrong side of history. And if that critical mass gets reached, I don't know what's going to happen. And that's we were just doing an article with NPR about black gun ownership in America. Mm-hmm. And the journalist asked me why I felt the need to have a gun. And I said, it's the unknown. I don't know how far they're going to take this. As I said, my dope black drop, thank God we have all these cameras on these phones. Thank God we have all this surveillance. If we did not have that, the ground would be littered. You'd be stepping over black bodies. And it would be just another day in the neighborhood. Just another day.
Let's stop killing black folks.
Stop it.
Let's just stop killing black folks. Black folks are asking simply for equality, simply for the opportunity to live the same life, to have the same things that you have. In fact, Hashim said it. He said that you just treat me like a white guy. That's what he said. And here's the thing. Many of you may know, may not know. I'm married to a white woman for 22 years almost. 3 children between that marriage. And I will tell you, she understands. She's not an ally. She's an accomplice. She's down and she gets it. Same thing with my kids, but it's terrible when you have to have this conversation with your children and you got to tell them how it is that you must act, because at the end of the day, I need you home with me. I need to know when you're back. I'm not a guy who worries, but
You gotta.
I do. And it's a problem. I hate it. Stop killing black folks. Start treating us the same way. And understand that a death warrant should not be issued for disobeying an order. It should not be issued for being unarmed and running away. It should not be issued because you just don't like cops. It should not be issued when you tell an officer, can I grab my ID to show you that I can have the permission to carry a gun? Philando Castile. It should not be issued for when you get pulled over in Tulsa and you get out of your car and you put your hands up and you get shot anyway because your car was stopped on the side of the road. Those should not be instances in which we issue death warrants.
And you know, like I said, more instances than are captured on these videos are out there. I've seen raw footage myself. From people that don't want to go public. And that's just right here. That's everywhere. This is going on everywhere. If it's happening right here in beautiful, sunny Aurora, Colorado, it's happening all over these United States. The South is still strong with its racism. Racism still has a stronghold across the Midwest. Racism still has its roots in the East Coast. There's still a strong far right conservative penchant within the West Coast. There is nowhere that racism has not reached its needly fingers into society and into our government offices, into our law enforcement, into our military, into all of our industrial leaders, all upper levels of management. You can't go to any corporation and find up at the top a lack of rich white people that are highly prejudiced, if not out and out racist and bigoted.
And let me just jump in here. We are not racist. We are not prejudiced. But the great part about being in a community that often recognizes their shortcomings and also often recognizes their privilege and the power that they often hold, it's just refreshing that you can have honest conversations, and many of them don't get offended. But for those of you out there who are watching who are offended, as Kevin said earlier, we're not the problems. You are. Get on the right page. Get on the right side of history, as Kevin already said.
Make it in the other topic and get upset about it. Say we were talking about statutory rape and people sleeping with teenagers. If you had a 12-year-old son or daughter and their 30-year-old teacher was sleeping with them, and then old Johnny walks up the block and says, "What? Oh my God, I can't believe y'all talking about this again." You better watch out for Johnny, right? So when we're talking about murdering our black kids, our black women, men, children, if you get upset about us talking about it or us stepping off the field, and let me go back to my point earlier when I said we should be like this across all industries, the way they are in the professional sports. Because black people are the backbone of this nation, whether or not you want to believe it. We are some of the lowest paid workers. We are employed. Also, all the free labor you get from us in prison. You as a society, you being America, not you in the individual viewer, you as a society have decided that you're going to get free labor from people, and then you allow the prison industrial complex to capitalize upon this and make this a capitalist venture. You cannot say, I'm going to imprison people for money. If you do that, you are now buying slaves. We spend money on these slaves and we make them work for pennies per hour. It's still going on to this very day. I'm not a fan of it. We did our best to kick it out of Aurora. We're trying to kick it out of all these individual systems, but we're not there yet. And who are these people? The majority of them are black people. So all this down and dirty labor that you want done, your home health care for your elderly, your chefs and cooks and janitors at almost all your restaurants and hotels and hospitals. Go in the back. Go in the back and see who's really working. It's going to be black and brown people. I'm telling you, these are the same people that you're willing to kill indiscriminately. So think about that. If the next time we saw a black man or black woman or black kid get killed by the police, it was just a general strike across the entire economy from everybody that's black. Watch your stocks. Watch your Bitcoin. Watch your daily income. Watch your cash flow. Or God forbid, we actually just say, no, we're religiously going to keep this black dollar in the black community. Watch your car sales. Watch your food sales. Watch all your numbers go down. If you want to keep on locking these Hispanic people up at the border, throwing their kids in cages, let them take the whole week off. Watch your produce section. Watch all your services out here. All your mechanic services, your tire services, all your small businesses, all your construction. Watch all the home building come to a screeching halt. Watch. Keep on doing it. You're going to make us reach critical mass, and we're going to do something. I'm not saying I'm going to pick up arms against the government. I'm not saying that. But we're going to do something.
And I think that's where getting the right people in positions of power and authority come in. And getting those people to actually be within the community and over the community. I'm tired of talking about this. I'm not going to lie. I'm tired of these hashtags. I'm tired of seeing young black folks die. Young black folks with potential die. It is indeed an epidemic. It just is. The great part is that there's actually a cure for it. We can cure this.
Yes, we can.
Unlike the handling of our current pandemic. We can cure this. And it takes a joint effort. Go and look at the pictures of these peaceful protests, the ones who are peaceful, and look into those crowds and you will see a dearth of diversity because they get it. They're asking for the same thing. So if, to Kevin's point, you don't like our peaceful protest, what's the next step?
What do you want? What are you asking for? Also, I'll go back to Doc Rivers, and I don't mind if this is a point to close on. Doc Rivers said, I'm tired of seeing black people love America, and America doesn't love us back.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's it. What else is there to say? What else is there to say? We've been going at this for a minute. I'm trying to figure out a dope black thought. My dope black thought is, let's stop killing black folks. In particular, let's stop killing black folks who are unarmed, whose backs are to you. Let's stop. I'm tired. I'm tired.
And my dope black thought is, realize what you're asking for. Encourage peaceful protests. Anyone that's on the right, you should encourage peaceful protests. If you want to help the police, help them. But don't help the police just waiting for an opportunity to shoot somebody. Mm-hmm. Help the police actually wanting to help, meaning you're willing to lend your hand in de-escalating and in supporting them when things are going wrong, they're getting dehydrated or someone needs medical attention. Go be a medic at the protests. Go help those people and show them that you do care about their lives. You don't want them to die just as much as they don't. You believe that your life matters just as much as theirs does, but they don't feel like theirs matters as much as yours, so they feel like they need to remind you that their black life matters. Mm-hmm. Just be there for them. That's how you can really support those police. This is a travesty. This is a travesty, and it is a pandemic. And the problem is it's contagious also. It's spreading like wildfire.
Well, yeah, when you got 17-year-olds coming across state lines, and then you got police officers, police chiefs justifying, and you got the talking heads on that channel whose name is an animal, also
news.
justifying, saying that, well, because since they can't get control of it, this kid is here to get control of it. Are you kidding me? This is a joke. You are a companion too. You're an accomplice.
Let's just, because we're ready to go. Let's just add that idea. Since they said they couldn't get a handle of it, the police couldn't handle this protest, so they want to let the white militia members get a handle of it. Mm-hmm. Apply that to Unite the Right in Charlottesville. What would that have looked like? So you got white supremacists out there screaming Jews will not replace us, wielding guns, burning swastikas and crosses, wearing Klan masks, shaved heads, matching outfits, screaming chants from a fascist authoritarian regime that we went to war with and defeated. Imagine if you were to hear those police say, "Go ahead, black folk. Do what you will." Tell me what that would look like. Be careful what you're asking for. I don't want that. I don't think you do either.
Other than that, Dope Black Thoughts.
Out.
Peace. That was good, bro. Hell yeah. Sheesh.
Got that off the chest.